If someone told you a superstar banked $28 million without filming a single commercial, posting a single ad, or showing up to a single brand event, you'd assume it was gossip. Then the documents surfaced. They point to a quiet company called KL2 Aspire LLC, a climate-fintech outfit that later collapsed, and a payment structure that now has the league asking uncomfortable questions. The name attached to that LLC? Kawhi Leonard. The team with the most to lose? The Los Angeles Clippers. And the number that won't stop echoing? $28 million. The first oddity wasn't the dollar amount, it was the silence. For most athletes, 8 figures buys a wall-to-wall campaign. Billboards, reels, jerseys on photo shoots. But reporters combed through the usual places and came up close to empty. No splashy ads, no rollouts, no obvious deliverables. Yet the bankruptcy ledger from the brand at the center of this, Aspiration, lists KL2 Aspire LLC among the creditors, still owed $7 million. The pattern a lot of people see is simple math. $7 million per year, 4 years, 28 total. Big money with almost no public footprint. That's when the whispers turned into an investigation. The timeline adds friction. In August 2021, the Clippers locked in Leonard on a 4-year extension. Around the same period, owner Steve Ballmer personally put $50 million into Aspiration, and the franchise rolled out a major sponsorship with the company for arena and team inventory. Ballmer has since said he was conned, that he reviewed what he describes as fraudulent financials, and that Kawhi's introduction to the company came after the extension, not before. The detail matters because sequencing tells a story. Was this just a normal outside endorsement, or was there a loop? Team Arrow owner-affiliated sponsor, Player LLC, that quietly sweetened a basketball deal. That's what the league is probing right now. Here's where the rules get real. The CBA doesn't ban players from signing outside deals. It bans circumvention, creative money that exists because of the team relationship, designed to act like extra salary. If investigators conclude that a payment hinged on Kawhi being a Clipper, rather than on genuine marketing work, that's a problem. Penalties can sting. Multi-million-dollar fines, forfeiture of draft picks, and in certain circumstances, even voided contracts when both sides are found to have taken part. It isn't about catching a smoking gun email. It's about patterns, clauses, timing, and whether deliverables match the price tag. We've seen a version of this movie before, one that ended ugly. Back in 2000, the NBA hammered the Timberwolves over the Joe Smith under-the-table arrangement. 5 first-round picks gone, a $3.5 million fine, contracts voided, executives sidelined. Different era, different CBA, same principle. If the cap can be bypassed with friendly money, the cap doesn't exist. That's the league's line in the sand, and it's why this case triggers so much déjà vu. And just when it couldn't feel messier, the ground under Aspiration caved in. In August 2025, federal prosecutors announced that Joseph Sandberg, Aspiration's co-founder, agreed to plead guilty to 2 counts of wire fraud tied to a $248 million scheme involving investors and lenders. That criminal case doesn't determine what the NBA will find about cap rules, but it casts a long shadow. When a company implodes under a fraud plea, every large payment it made gets re-examined. If the marketing work is scant and the numbers are huge, the optics go from strange to radioactive. So what, exactly, is the paper trail people cite? Reports describe an agreement that would pay KL to Aspire $7 million annually for 4 years. They also note a clause that allowed Leonard to decline actions the company requested, essentially getting paid even if he chose not to do anything, plus a termination trigger tied to his Clippers employment. Those 2 details, if accurately characterized, are why the deal raised eyebrows. They make the payment look less like a marketing plan and more like a stay-put bonus. The league's hired counsel will want the actual contracts and emails, not summaries. Still, those public descriptions explain why this story detonated. The team's position is blunt. The Clippers and Ballmer deny any cap dodge. Publicly, Ballmer said he was fooled by Aspiration's numbers. called the suggestion that the franchise orchestrated a workaround absurd, and emphasized that the introduction came after Kawhi's extension. Meanwhile, outlets across the spectrum, from ESPN to Yahoo to NBC's local desk, say the NBA has opened an investigation, and national coverage notes the league even retained outside counsel to handle the probe. Translation? Everyone knows the stakes, and the league is paper trailing this carefully. Let's be clear, an outside endorsement by itself is normal. Players do them constantly. The bright line is whether the money exists because of the team relationship and is meant to supplement salary. That's where investigators look for tells. Was the payment contingent, explicitly or implicitly, on Kawhi remaining a Clipper? Did the brand receive deliverables anywhere close to eight-figure value? Were there briefings, shoots, assets, usage, posts, appearances, or license rights that justify the spend? Or was the value proposition basically association, with a legalese parachute that let the athlete decline to do much of anything? Those questions cut to intent. There's also the arena-sized wrinkle. Aspiration wasn't just writing checks to an athlete, it was linked, loudly, to the franchise. Reports describe a nine-figure sponsorship tied to the Clippers' new home, and contemporary coverage says Ballmer's personal investment came within weeks of the Kawhi extension. That proximity doesn't convict anyone, but it does tighten the circle. Owner money in, team sponsorship out, player LLC paid. If that's the loop and if deliverables are thin, the optics screams salary supplement, not marketing. That's the narrative investigators are trying to confirm or dismantle with documents rather than speculation. Meanwhile, the receipts from the bankruptcy court keep the number front and center. KL2 Aspire LLC shows up on creditor lists as still being owed $7 million. That single line item is why 28/4 is everywhere. It matches the widely reported structure and explains why fans who never read a contract suddenly know the name of a limited liability company. When your brand deal ledger looks like a cap table, nobody treats it like a normal endorsement anymore. So what happens if the league decides the line was crossed? The CBA's circumvention penalties are designed to hurt enough that nobody sees them as a cost of doing business. We're talking multi-million-dollar fines, draft picks on the chopping block, and, if both sides are deemed to have taken part, the nuclear option of voiding a contract or extension. It's not the only outcome. The league could find no violation or hit a middle ground, but the menu exists for a reason. And if you want a reminder that the NBA will actually go there, ask Minnesota what 5 lost firsts feel like. Now zoom back to the human level. Kawhi is famously private. He rarely does splash and glitter endorsements. That makes this case trickier to read from the outside. Quiet marketing isn't automatically fake marketing. The decisive thing won't be how chatty the campaign looked. It'll be whether the paperwork shows real value promised and delivered. Decks, scopes of work, paid media plans, performance reports, usage logs, appearance calendars. If those exist and line up with the money, the story bends one way. If they're thin or absent, it bends the other. In an era where a smartphone post can be sold for 6 figures, 8 figures with near zero output is a red flag that flashes from orbit. For the franchise, the timing could not be worse. New building, heavy payroll, aging stars, and a need for flexibility. Draft capital and clean books are oxygen. Even one forfeited first or a big fine reshapes how you chase the next big swing. And if the league goes deeper than that, the fallout would rewrite the team's roadmap and signal to every other owner that there's a hard ceiling on friendly money games, even for the richest guy in the room. That's why front offices across the league are watching this as much as fans are. There's a broader truth humming underneath everything. Modern sports run on overlapping circles. Owners investing in startups, startups sponsoring arenas, athletes endorsing brands that also court teams. Most of it is legitimate. Some of it tiptoes into gray zones. The difference usually isn't a dramatic confession. It's a breadcrumb trail. Who introduced whom? When did it happen? What do the clauses say? And where are the deliverables? Answer those, and you either get a boring paperwork story that went viral for nothing, or a landmark case that redraws the map for superstar recruitment in the cap era. And if you're waiting for a final twist, here it is. The same collapse that sent Aspiration into bankruptcy also gives the league more places to look. Prosecutors say a fraud scheme propped up the company for years. If the underlying enterprise was a mirage, the NBA doesn't have to prove that in order to enforce its own rules. But it will color the analysis of every payment. A $28 million arrangement that made little marketing noise already looks strange. With the DOJ plea on the record, it looks like a live wire. The next move is the league's closing beat. However this ends, it sets a tone. If the penalties land hard, every team will think twice before mixing owner money, team sponsorships, and player LLCs in ways that feel too convenient. If it fades without consequences, the message is just as loud. Creative cash will keep finding daylight. Either way, one of the NBA's quietest superstars just became the center of the loudest off-court test of the cap in years, and the ripple effects won't stop at one locker room.